Good afternoon, boys and girls, and good afternoon, mommies and daddies, and good afternoon, grandmommies and grandpuppies. Today's story is The Thrift Store. Now, Mommy Piggy had been saving her money up, and there was a few things that she wanted to get, and she wanted to go to the thrift store because she said, they always have such good bargains there, and we need some things. So now, boys had never been to the thrift store before. They didn't know what it was, because usually Mommy Piggy went when they were in school. But she decided to go and take them, and it was another Saturday, and another week of school had gone by, and oh, the piggies were loving their teacher. Oh, the teacher was so good, and they were doing good in school. But, you know, Mommy Piggy had already taught them how to read and how to write, and so they were a little bit ahead of their class. But they were doing so good. And actually, it seemed to be that all the little boys and girls that came from the woods and went to school in town, they seemed to be a little bit ahead of the rest of the children from town. I don't know how come. I don't know if their mamas didn't teach them how to read and how to write before they started to school. But the three little pigs and Allie the alligator and the little bad wolf and Patty Pig and Sally Skunk, Frankie Fox and Ollie Otter, they were all ahead of their classmates. And the teacher just thought, oh my gracious sakes, these little boys and girls that come from the woods, they're really smart. Well, you got to remember now that all the boys and girls, they played all together almost every day in the summertime. And they all had, remember, they had a little bag that they took with them that had some rope, a flashlight, and a knife, and their sandwiches. And they always wore their swimming suits underneath their clothes. They were used to doing things on their own, and they were used to doing things that maybe 6-year-old kids didn't do. I mean, you know, remember that the piggies helped Farmer Brown a lot of times, and so he let them drive the tractor, and they just did all sorts of things that a lot of kids just didn't have to do. Well, anyway, back to the thrift shop. Mommy says, we have to do something today, boys, and you've never done this. So I thought maybe that you would like to come along and experience the thrift store. Well, Mommy, said Piggy, what is a thrift store? Wiggly said, yeah, thrift store. What in the world is a thrift store? And Squiggly said, I bet it's somewhere that we can be thrifty. And Piggy says, what's thrifty mean, Mommy? And Mommy says, well, Squiggly's right. A thrift store is where they sell all sorts of things, and they don't cost as much money as new things do. Oh, boy, can we get some stuff for ourselves? And Mommy says, well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how much it costs. And so what I thought I would do is I would give each one of you boys $5. Now, you can buy whatever you want as long as I say that it's okay. And if you buy something for $5, just one thing, and it costs $5, well, then you only come home with one thing. But if you find something for $1, you can come home with 5 things. Oh my goodness gracious sakes alive. Those boys were just so interested in that. They thought, oh my goodness gracious, woohoo! They were going to have a ball. And she says, now, you know what we do in the store. What do? We don't run up and down the aisles. And she said, that's right. And we don't scream and holler, Wiggly said. That's right. Squiggly, what else do we don't do? Well, we always have to ask you if we're going to buy something. And we're supposed to stay with you, but are you going to look at dresses and stuff like that? And Mommy Piggy says, yes, I'm going to look at dresses, I think, but I'm also going to look at all the rest of the aisles. So I tell you what, as long as you are in sight, don't get out of Mommy's sight. I want to make sure I can see you all the time. And then when I go into the dresses, there's some seats up in the front and you could sit down and wait for me. Okay. She thought that was a good idea, and so did the piggies. They got to the thrift store. Now this thrift store always has a sale every day. And it depends on what color the tag is that they write the prices on. Well, today's colors was green and yellow and pink. Now, the best way that Mommy thought to remember that was that she called them Easter egg colors. So she showed the boys the sign that said green and yellow and pink, and she said, remember the Easter eggs. And she says, if you find something with that color tag on it, green or pink or yellow, then that is half price. Mommy, do you mean if we find something that's marked $1, it'll only be 50 cents? And she said, yeah. Woo! Boy, they were, oh my goodness gracious, they just didn't know what to do. They were so excited. So, off they go. Everybody got buckled up and she drove into town. And this thrift store was, oh, it was so big, and they hadn't seen it before because it was on another street that they didn't go down very often. They always went to the post office and they always went to the grocery store. And that's about all. They didn't go very many times to the movies because Mommy was always busy. And so they knew where the movies were, and they had been, but not all the time. And so this was on another street. And so they didn't often go down that street. And oh my goodness gracious, they looked around like this, and I mean, it was so big. Oh my goodness gracious, was it ever big. And Piggly says, Mommy, are we going to get lost in there? That's big. And she says, well, I know it's big. But she says, I tell you what I want you to do, and I want you to promise this, boys. Now listen to me. And she took them right in front of her, and she took their little chins, and she says, now you boys listen to me, okay? And they said, yes, Mommy, you're making us scared. What's going on? And she says, well, I don't want you to be scared. But she says, I want the three of you to stay together. I don't want you wandering off. Wiggly, you're my wanderer. Now you stay right beside Piggly and Squiggly. And Piggly, you stay right beside Wiggly and Squiggly. And Squiggly, you stay right beside Piggly and Wiggly. Now you promise me. Yes, ma'am, we will. I said you have to do this. Okay. And Squiggly says, yes, Mommy, we will. And he said, Piggly and Wiggly, we have to do this because look how big the store is, and we don't want to get lost. Okay, we have to stay together now. And we promised Mommy that we would do that. So Piggly says, oh yeah, I can see it's going to be important. And Wiggly says, okay, I'll try. And Squiggly says, you gonna do it, because I'm gonna tell Mommy if you don't do it. Well, they went into the thrift store and they got their little cart, and Mommy showed them again the signs about the blue and the pink and the yellow, green, pink and yellow tickets. And off they go. Well, Mommy knew that they were going to have to go to the toy section first. So to get to the toy section, they had to walk through all the pretty little nicky-nacky stuff, you know, the vases and the little bunny statues, and the just, you know, all sorts of little things that they had. And oh, Mommy Piggy just fell in love with some pretty red glasses. Oh, they were so pretty. And she didn't know if she wanted to buy them or not. But Squiggly saw her looking at them. And he looked at the price on them, and guess what? It was a yellow ticket, and 4 glasses that were half price came to $2. Well, he thought, you know, I bet you I could buy those red pretty glasses, and give it to Mommy for a Christmas present. I know she likes them. Well, they go on. They went through that whole section, and they're looking around, and Wiggly saw something that he liked, and he wanted to hang it up on the wall in his bedroom because it was a real cute little picture, and it looked like Farmer Brown. Doggone it. It was a man in overalls working in his farm with the corn behind him and a little bunny rabbit standing beside him. He says, now that looks like Farmer Brown, and I think that'd be a cute picture hanging up in our room. Don't you think so? And Wiggly says, well, yeah, that's pretty cool. And Squiggly says, yeah, I like that. And luck would have it, it was a green ticket. Ooh, boy, this is fun. This is fun. Well, they walked on to the toys, and there was a basketball, and they had a basketball already, and there was a baseball, and there was a football. Now, they had already been playing football and baseball and basketball during the summer with their coaches, so they didn't need another ball, although it's always nice to have 2 balls. So they kind of thought maybe they would look upon that on the balls. And they went on through, and lo and behold, what did they find? They found 3. I don't know how they found 3, but they found 3 canteens to put water in, and it was hooked onto a belt. And Squiggly says, boys, look at this. Do you know that we could get this? There's 3 of them, and we could get 1 for each one of us and carry our water with us when we go out in the woods and have fun. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, the boys put that in the basket real quick. Now that was $2 for each one of them. And lo and behold, I don't know how these boys were finding these things, but that was a pink ticket. Would you believe that? Everything they had looked at so far was on sale. Wow. Well, they went a little bit further, and they stopped. They looked at some stuff, and they saw some puzzles. 50 cents. Now, this was not on a green ticket, and it wasn't on a pink ticket, and it wasn't on a yellow ticket. None of the puzzles were. But 50 cents? Woo! Piggly figured up real quick. He says, Squiggly, that's a real good deal, isn't it? And Squiggly says, yes, it is. And Wiggly says, can we get this one there? Because that looks like it's fun to put together. So they got a puzzle. They only got one. And Piggly says, well, how are we going to pay for this? And Squiggly says, well, for 50 cents, we probably should get 3. We don't have to put them together all at once. They could last us a year, probably. Okay, Wiggly said, let's get 3, 1 of each. There's 1 of each of us, and we'll get 1 puzzle apiece. Okay, that was good. So they picked out 3 puzzles, and they put them in the basket, the cart. They went a little bit further, and they saw some old silverware. And there was a little basket of knives, and a little basket of forks, and a little basket of spoons. And Wiggly says, do you know what I'm thinking, boys? I'm thinking that if we get 3 knives and 3 forks and 3 spoons, we can keep those in a pocket in our belt that we got, and we have silverware in case we need it for our lunches when we're out in the woods. Oh, be gosh darn, because you know sometimes Mommy wanted to fix soup for them when it was a little chilly. She wanted to fix soup for them, and she never could do it because she didn't want them to take her good silverware out in the woods. And so they said, that is a good idea. And they ran back to Mommy and they said, Mommy, if we get something to eat soup while we're in the woods, will you make us some soup? And she looked at him kind of funny, and she said, well, of course I will. They ran back and got 3 knives and 3 forks and 3 spoons. And so Squiggly says, well, now we need to find either a little vacuum bottle, or we need to find a jar with a lid on it, or something to put the soup in. And Piggly says, oh, that's right, isn't it? Well, they went a little bit further, and they saw some dishes, and all of a sudden, they came to a shelf with cups and cups and cups, and glasses and more cups. And at the end of the shelf, at the very end of the shelf, there was the cups that all the kids had nowadays that stays cold for a long time. And don't you know, there was 3 cups, 3 different colors so they wouldn't get mixed up. One was black and one was blue. Excuse me. And one was dark green. Oh my goodness gracious. How? You know, Mama said later on when they got home that God must have known they were coming to that thrift store, because everything that they wanted was right there, and most of it was on sale. Well, the cups were only $1, and as luck would have it, they all had yellow tags on them. Oh my goodness gracious, this is 50 cents for each one of these cups. Oh my God, the 3 little pigs just jumped up and down. They thought, boy, are we ever lucky. We are having such a good time, and we are so lucky. So Mommy Piggy says, well, you know how come you're so lucky? Because you're such good boys. You always do everything that the teacher asks you, and you don't argue with me. You're such good boys, and that's how come we're finding all these good fun things. So they went on a little bit further, and they came to some overalls, and they came to some shirts. Oh, some of these shirts were so pretty, and they were flannel shirts, and they were so warm because, you know, it was getting a little bit chilly at night in the woods. And so Mommy Piggy says, I tell you what, if you boys like those warm shirts, why don't you each one of you pick out a shirt, that you like, and it has to be this flannel. Now feel it. You feel how it feels? So you going down the aisle here on both sides, and you look at all the shirts that you think are really nice looking, and you feel it. And if it's a flannel shirt and you like it, I can cut the sleeves down to fit you little arms, and I can cut the tails off to fit your bodies, and you can have a shirt, a new shirt to play in. Oh, Mommy, and it's to be a warm, snuggly shirt too. And she said, that's right, Piggly. Do you know that flannel shirts are the bestest shirts ever to wear when it's cold? Oh, they keep you so nice and warm and snuggy, 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 snuggy. And with that, she gave them all a great big hug. And off they went. Well, I don't know. I tell you right now, that thrift store, you just can't find some of these things sometimes. Piggly found a beautiful red and blue and white with little black stripes in it, a plaid shirt. Oh, and it was flannel. And he runs back to Mommy and he says, look what I found, Mommy, look what I found, look what I found. And she goes, oh, Piggly, she says, that's a beautiful shirt. And she looked at it, and it was a size large. And so she knew she had some cutting down to do, but Mommy Pig can sew. Oh, my gracious sake, she can sew so good. So she said, what color ticket is it? He says, it's green. It's green. I'm so happy. And she goes, well, I am proud of you. And she says, let me see how much it costs. It costs $3.75. Oh, my goodness gracious. Woo! They figured up real quick how much that was going to be, and that wasn't even quite $2 that they were going to have to spend. It was under $2. Well, Wiggly kept looking, and he kept looking, and he kept looking, and all of a sudden she heard Wiggly go, found one! And he runs back to her. Oh, this was a green and brown with a little bit of white and a little bit of black plaid. Oh my goodness gracious. Now so far they had found 2 flannel plaid shirts. Yep, they sure did. And she looks at the size, and it was a size large again. Somebody must have brought their husbands, their daddy's shirts in, because these shirts were sure nice looking, and they were all the same size. And it was $3.75 too. Mommy Piggy's looking around, and she's looking at some of the shirts, and she says $3.75, $3.75, $3.75. That must be a favorite number for the shirts, because she says most all these shirts, she's talking to herself, most all these shirts cost $3.75. That's kind of strange. Well, along about that time, here comes Squiggly. Phew. She was worried that he wasn't going to find his shirt. He found the prettiest little shirt. Oh my goodness gracious. It was blue and gray. Kind of a checkered plaid, because it had a little bit of white lines in it, so that made it a plaid. But it was blue and gray, mostly. Real sharp looking. So she looked at the tag. Another large. Same man must have worn these 3 shirts. And she said, Squiggly, do you like that one? And he said, yes, I do, Mommy. I think that's kind of distinguished looking. And you know Squiggly, he was always the thinker in the bunch, and he was the smartest one in the bunch, and he always figured out what to do. He got that business, you know, you remember that story. He got that business from Farmer Brown, because that's what Farmer Brown always did when he's thinking. So they were so excited. Oh my goodness gracious, so excited. And Mommy went and found, they sat down on the benches up in front, and Mommy found a pretty blouse and a pretty dress. And then Mommy found a pair of jeans. Oh my goodness gracious, she was so excited. They go up to the lady at the checkout counter, and they give all their things to the lady. And Squiggly and Piggly and Wiggly realized that they hadn't spent all their money yet. They had only got a puzzle and a fork and a knife and a spoon and a canteen. There wasn't too much money left over, so they decided, they were talking back, you know, while Mommy's in line, and so they decided, let's put the money that we didn't spend, we'll put it back in the bank when we get home, and then we'll save some more and get some more things the next time Mommy wants to come. Well, that's exactly what they did. And you know that when they added everything up, Mommy saw the four glasses, the red glasses that she was looking at, and she saw them, and she was kind of wondering how come the boys had picked them out, but she didn't say anything. So the lady behind the register, she says, "Okay, Mrs. Piggy, that will be a total of $12.65. Oh my goodness gracious sakes alive. They got everything for $12.65. Well, they get to the car, and the boys are so excited. Oh, they are so excited. They can't wait to use their silverware out in the woods, and they can't wait to use their canteen and their cups to put the soup in. They are just so excited. And Mommy Piggy says, do you know what? We need to take Little Bad Wolf to the store next week, because he's needing some clothes, and he would like a canteen too, and maybe we can find something for him when he goes in the woods with you. Mommy, we got some money left over. Can we do it today? And she says, well, is there another canteen? And Squiggly says, I don't know. They were in a box on the floor, and we didn't dig through the rest of the box. She says, well, let's go in real quick. Let's put everything in the car, and we'll lock it up, and we'll go in real quick and see what we can find. Well, they found a plaid shirt for Little Bad Wolf, and it was a size extra large. And Mommy Pig says, okay, that even might fit him right now, but we'll check it out, and if I have to sew it, I will. And it was a green and yellow plaid. Very striking, very pretty, with little black lines in it. Real pretty. They went over to where the canteens were, and they dug and they dug and they dug, and Mommy's looking around, and Mommy's looking around over here, and she said, where did you find the silverware? And Piggly says, over there, see the baskets over there? And she said, yes. She says, I'll go get silverware while you're digging in that box for the canteen. So she went over and she picked up a fork and a knife and a spoon. That was Little Bad Wolf. So she comes back, and about that same time, Wiggly, he's almost standing on his head in that box, and he says, I found one, I found one, I found one. And sure enough, it matched the other three. So somebody must have had 4 boys, and they all had canteens that looked just alike. And Mommy Piggy says, you know what we better do for you boys and for Little Bad Wolf? We put your initials on them so that you can see which ones is yours. Oh, what a great idea. So when they got home, they were going to paint their initials on the canteens. So they said, okay, the cups are this way, and they ran over to the shelf with the cups, and sure enough, there was a whole bunch of cups, and they found a pretty silver one for Little Bad Wolf. Oh, they went back to the clerk, and the clerk says, well, weren't you boys just in here? And they all said, all at one time, they said, yes, we were, but we forgot something for our best friend. And she said, well, that's so nice of you. And so they rang up their order, and it came to $4.18. Oh, my goodness gracious. Because Mommy Piggy didn't even look at the tags and see if they were half price or not. And they were, because the other ones were, and so they were. Well, they go home, and they got their stuff out of the car, and they went into the house, and Mommy Pig says, okay, I know you want to paint your initials on the canteens, but you know what they did the very first one they did? They did Little Bad Wolf, and they made a L, and a B, and a W on the side of the canteen. And when it was dry, they put it in a bag, a plastic bag, and they put the silverware in a plastic bag, and they put the cup in the plastic bag. And Mommy says, I know what you want to do. Go ahead and go over to see Little Bad Wolf and take him your goodies. So they put on their belts, they put their canteens on the side of their belts, and they put the silverware in their pockets with their flashlight and with their rope. And they go over to Little Bad Wolf's house, and he said, whoa, where'd you get the canteens at? And they said, we have been to a place called the Thrift Store. And he goes, what kind of store is that? Oh, Little Bad Wolf, you're never going to believe what we found in that thrift store, and we got a present for you. And they held out their hand with the bag, and he says, for me? He said, Mrs. Farmer Brown's the only one that gives me presents. And Little Bad Wolf says, oh, we got some good presents for you. One present, you have to come over to Mommy's house, to our house, and let Mommy measure you. Measure me? What he's going to measure me for? What did I do? What? No. Little Bad Wolf, we got some flannel shirts to wear it when it gets cold. And oh, they're so good and snuggy. You just love your flannel shirt that we got you. And Little Bad Wolf says, okay, I don't know what a flannel shirt is, but I guess I'm going to find out. So let me open the bag. And so they open up the bag, and he was flabbergasted. Completely, totally flabbergasted. I can't even talk. He was surprised. Well, he was so happy. Oh, my gracious sakes. Because, you know, he's an orphan. And one day we're going to find out all about him and what happens. And he was so happy, and he almost started crying, but being a Little Bad Wolf, he didn't want to cry because he didn't want anybody to make fun of him, you know, but he was so happy. He said, oh, I love this. And Piggly says, well, that's to use when we go in the woods and play. And we bought you the cup here that you can put soup in it and it'll stay hot. Well, Little Bad Wolf knew how to make a can of soup. He knew what to do. He knew how to open it up and how to put it in the microwave that Mrs. Farmer Brown had gave him, and he knew how to cook the soup. He says, oh my goodness gracious, isn't this going to be fun? And Piggly says, yes, it's going to be so much fun, and we've got to go home now because we've been gone all day and we've got chores to do, and so we're going to see you tomorrow. And Little Bad Wolf says, you sure are, and I'll have my canteen and my belt on and my silverware, and I'll have some water in that cup. And Piggly says, so will we. And so they said, goodbye, Little Bad Wolf, we'll see you tomorrow. And boys and girls, GrandMommy's going to say, bye-bye. and I will see you Monday. Okay? Bye-bye.